listeners, to the Gamer Headlines Show. Gamer Headlines is weekly entertainment podcast. This is episode 52, and I am one of your co-hosts, Chris Cortez. As always, I'm joined by my other co-host, Adnan Riaz.
Hello, Chris.
Hello, sir. So we should just straight up tell people that we're doing something a little bit different with this show. Yeah, we're just experimenting with different things to do and different segments and stuff. And so don't worry, Talk Nerdy to Me is not gone for good. It will come back in probably next episode. I don't know. It'll come back very soon. But we're going to be kind of like reshuffling the show from time to time, breathe new life into it, make things a little bit more interesting and things like that. And so for this week's schedule, we're actually not going to have Talk Nerdy to Me. And instead, we're going to have a new segment we're debuting near the end of the episode. But we still have our nerd news, and we still have our topic of the week, so we still have that. But yeah?
Do you know what the funny part is? I actually did something for Talk Nerdy today. We don't have it as a segment.
What happened?
No, I actually did something for Talk Nerdy to Me.
Oh, you did?
We don't have it as a... Yeah, actually the week I actually got started to doing some stuff.
I
fuck.
I saw a really good documentary, too. Yeah, so I was thinking, we'll talk about this, but I've forgotten. Yeah. But don't worry.
But yeah,
it'll be back.
It's what Chris said. It's being rotated. We kind of this episode's going to sound so different compared to other ones because we've kind of changed the entire flow. Because like we said, after 50, we're going to bring some refreshing kind of changes to the show. We've got quite a few ideas planned anyway. Yeah. So let us know what you think in the comments of wherever, and we'll just have a quick look at them.
Oh, totally.
We always appreciate that.
And it's really going to sound different because I'm dubbed by James Earl Jones for the rest of the segment.
Yeah, and I'm dubbed by Tom Wilson.
You mean Biff?
Yeah.
When did you get so physical, Adnan? Because it's the year 2015. That's how he sounds. That's Griff. You're Griff? Grabs! You put 2 coats of wax on my car. I was just doing the next one. All right, now we're just quoting movies. So let's go ahead and move. Yeah, let's jump into our nerd news. So a lot of really cool stuff we got here. Video gaming and movie related all the way to Valhalla itself. Not really, but cool stuff all the same. Dude, did you want to take this first piece here?
Yes, I will do. So, big news as well. This will also time with Spoilercast tomorrow that we're recording, which should be up on Friday. So, the news is about Supermassive Games and Until Dawn. So, Supermassive Games have revealed that they were surprised at how well Until Dawn did commercially. So, speaking to Supermassive Games' executive producer Pete Samuels, he was asked about the sales figures and everything else, and he said, and I quote, "It's definitely surpassed expectations. I think that's already been stated in other interviews and reports of significant retail outlets running out of stock during the first weeks after release kind of supports that." And then kind of moving into that, they basically asked him about, a sequel, as you normally would, with almost anything now. So he actually went on and responded with, and I quote, "I think that you should expect the team to build on what we've done with Until Dawn, whether it's in horror or in other genres. We're already working on one thing that does that, whilst exploring other avenues for our team in anticipation of finishing their current projects. We do talk internally about what Until Dawn 2 could be, as it clearly can't be a sequel in the traditional sense, with the same characters facing same threat, not least of which because in different stories some or all of them are already dead." These are terrible ways of phrasing sentences. But anyway, we've investigated other ways we could do Until Dawn, but it probably is a bit too early to start discussing that. End quote. So that's the main bulk of the news. Very interesting to hear what it is. I think Sony didn't realize this is one of the biggest sleeper hits of the year.
Oh yeah,
which kind of surprised me as well, because I thought they would really sell this. It just kind of made it, when I looked at the game as well, even they obviously knew it was going to be a good game because they quality assurance tested it and everything else. They know what they were getting in the package. Again, I think one of the weird things for me is looking at the box art, Hayden Panettiere's not on it. And that kind of shocked me at the beginning as well. Do you remember they were building up the campaign for Until Dawn, the marketing and stuff, the very little marketing they did. Mm-hmm. But as members of the press, we kind of looked into it. A lot of it was a focus on Hayden Panettiere, and then kind of that dwindles in the game, which we'll talk about tomorrow. And you kind of realise that she's not the leading lady. But with like kind of the all-star cast that they have, you know, Brett Dalton, Hayden Panettiere, Rami Malek, Peter Stormare, like they have an explosive cast. They have Hollywood A-listers and like TV stars. Everyone in that game is like, you know, have got some kind of stakes behind them. They didn't really promote it that well. Like I think Sony, and I think that now they're kind of realizing that they're going to try and push it in the holiday season because I think they're going to rely on it to kind of push some sales up.
It's it's almost like Sony's Frozen, the Frozen of video games.
You imagine Rami Malek in a Elsa dress.
No, he would. What is it called? I would like to see. No, I got nothing. I was going to say something about Emily, but I got nothing.
You're all about Emily, but no, we'll butt heads on that tomorrow.
I agree, dude, on what this is kind of going about surpassing expectations. I mean, like Until Dawn was a weird thing, you know, because it came out, and again, I don't want to talk too much about this because, like Adam said, we have a spoiler cast tomorrow. But I'll say something I'm probably not going to mention in the spoiler cast, and it's that when the game was first announced, it was a PlayStation Move. It was back in 2012 at GDC. No, not GDC. It was Gamescom. It was announced 2012, and it was a PlayStation Move PS3 game, and it was an exclusive to Move. And I thought it was going to be a piece of shit, to be honest. I thought it was going to be like quite terrible, and that wasn't really going to be anything, you know, that was going to be of interest to me. But I still wrote it on my list because I'm like, that's a Move exclusive. That looks interesting. And then, you know, for years, no one spoke about it. And I think it was like last year or something, they re-announced it. And it reemerged as the game you see here. And essentially, I think what Sony did was they just gave them more money and said, no, make it a PS4 game and use a cast of like Adnan said, Hollywood A-listers and big TV stars and whatnot. And I mean, the cast is completely impressive. The entire cast is great. I think there's not one person I think that you know is a stinker or anything. I think everyone in that game does an amazing job playing their characters. It's so like to the T.
Well, a lot of it's owed to the writing as well. Like it kind of gives the characters purpose, especially for horror, because most of the time you want everyone to die. But I think I started to notice that in some characters that I hated them first, now I liked them, and vice versa. But we'll talk about that in the podcast anyway.
Yeah.
Going to the actual sequel idea,
which I was
saying.
What I was gonna add. I was gonna segue to that. Yeah, like that. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough subject. That's a tough nut to crack, because how do you again, not to get into like too much details, but how do you sequelize that? And I think
I hate seeing numbers at the end of horror movies.
Yeah.
It's a pet peeve I really have.
Scream 2 still should have been 2 spelled T-O-O. Like Scream 2. Like, yeah.
So The Last of Us 2 should be...
yeah, The Last of Us 2. We're there too.
I think what I mean, like, obviously, I think one of the examples was like Hellraiser, Hellbound 2. I think it was Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. That was the name of the film. But yeah, I really don't like seeing numbers on it because it really pisses me off. Because it's such a weird way to kind of... Like, horror is such a weird thing to kind of, like, take into a sequel. Like, I think, like, you know, again, like with Scream, it last part, he's like, you gotta have a sequel, Sid. Like, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like, you kind of like, yeah, that's what horror is, because one film's successful, it leads on to that. But, you know, kind of the way he speaks, Pete Samuels, like, he obviously knows what they can't just carry on the story for what it is. It'd have to be a different story. To be honest, if it's that kind of thing, I just start a new IP with a horror game and not have to make it a sequel. You could just have the same kind of mechanics and stuff and just make it a different horror game. It didn't necessarily have to be a sequel if it's going to be like that. I think Until Dawn, it kind of makes sense of what it is Until Dawn, and that's it. And then those characters are that. And obviously, as he said, like, you kill those characters off. There's no real kind of like true canon ending to that game.
Yeah.
Because it's different. Like, there's no way of like interpreting, because they might think all the characters saying is the true ending, but it might not be.
That is very true. But at the same time, like, to play devil's advocate, like, it's kind of hard. Like, that's hard for a developer or like a publisher to swallow. Like, you know, if this game did well, they, you know, their mindset is, well, they don't think creatively. They think like as a publisher, like, all right, sweet, let's, like, the businessman kicks in. Let's like make the sequel and let's do all that because that's what people want and blah blah blah. But like, I think I agree with you artistically though. I think they don't have to make one.
Playing devil's advocate again on top of that. Is that the fact that this is Sony and not another publisher? It's not like it's, you know, Activision or EA or someone like that. They have very much kind of If they know that it's not going to happen, they're going to happen. They're going to force it. Like he said, we are thinking about other projects and stuff, other genres. Because they might just look at it and be like, if you can't do an Until Dawn 2 and it has the same kind of... Because they're going to play test it and stuff like that. So it must be like, you know what, if it's not going to live up to what it is, we'll just damp it. Yeah, you have the kind of the appeal of what the first game did, but when people see it, maybe you know what, it's not as it's not as brilliant as the other one.
I don't know. I don't think Sony... Yeah, go ahead.
No, because when you look at a game, they have to look at it and be like, are we going to put extra funds to market this? Maybe, maybe not. If they look at it and they know it's really bad and it's not a great game, they'll be like, whatever. It kind of says everything about the Order 8886. They were pushing that shit with money behind it, to sell it, and it was a bad game from what I've heard. I can't completely state that, but from what I've heard, it's not a great game. But with the fact of Until Dawn being a better game, and they've realised that now, they're like, oh yeah, we can allocate a bit of more funds to it, and kind of spread. Cause I think they did a terrible job with the marketing. They had Hayden Panettiere and people like that, and I'd get them on talk shows and get them to talk about games. I think with Tomb Raider, Camilla Luddington was on Jimmy Kimmel and etc. talking about Tomb Raider. You want to get people out there, it feels wasted. You have a character. Again, do you remember how many interviews Ellen Page did for Beyond?
Yeah.
You want to kind of sell that. I just don't think a sequel would work. As much as I like this game, I don't think it will work because horror game sequels don't tend to go down the same beaten path as horror films. They kind of just destroy their subject matter. It makes it less interesting. I think there's very few horror sequels, if I can think of anything off the top of my head, that really kind of do justification to what the first film did.
I think Until Dawn is in a very delicate position where they could go the David Cage route. So in other words, the follow-up to Heavy Rain was, Beyond Two Souls. They could do something like that, like a spiritual successor or a sequel project or something like that. I think it could definitely go in that direction. I mean, to be quite frank, like we mentioned earlier, I don't know where the fuck it would go, like a sequel. But I also think it could also be in another position where they might want to make a sequel and just put it make it a new cast of characters, like a new scenario, or hell, they might even have your save transfer over or something like that, and whatever the scenarios are, almost pull a Mass Effect. It really, I guess, it would depend on the budget of the game and stuff like that. But
it's kind of hard just to keep those ideas fresh.
Yeah,
because the Wendigo's appeal goes, and then the stuff like that. And it's kind of
it had to be something
dilutes.
Else.
You water down.
Do vampires this time.
Vampires. Or redneck zombies. Yeah. It's redneck inbred zombies.
now we're literally describing Cabin in the Woods.
I fucking love Cabin. See, this is the thing, it's the Cabin in the Woods syndrome when you think about it, when they mock horror. It's no, we can't do this because vampires are not original. Let's do zombies and stuff. The Wendigo kind of loses its appeal, with horror movies. Same with with Freddy Krueger, in the Nightmare series, he lost his appeal and they kept tweaking him. It's even that ridiculous one, and I think the fifth one where he's playing the Super Nintendo and he kills that person. I'm like, come on, he's meant to be a funny serial killer, paedophile, stalker, whatever he is, but the entire point is that's going a bit too far. It kind of makes it hard. I think one of the biggest examples of how great an entire transition of character is and how to keep him refreshing is Wes Craven's New Nightmare compared to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
That's where the character feels like it's just, where it's leapt
that feels like
miles
a sequel.
And boundaries. Yeah, it feels like a true thing where it keeps such a great. I mean, Wes Craven's New Nightmare is in itself it's a meta kind of film. It mocks itself, and it's kind of it plays on that kind of theme. But it's so great, and I think it's one of the most underrated films I've always seen in a long time. But it kind of keeps characters fresh. I think I want to see some of these characters back though in Until Dawn. I think some of them are great. We'll talk about this podcast because I think some of them just feel left, a little bit. Underdeveloped. But before we go on, Chris, by the way, during your Let's Play, you were talking about Emily and is it Matt? Mm-hmm. Emily and Matt, and they do the baggage thing where they go and look for it. That's the pre-order bonus.
Yeah, I followed a guide for my last playthrough, and they were describing that scene, and I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? And I looked it up online, and that was the pre-order, you get an extra scene thing.
Pre-ordering quotes. That is part of the original game, cropped out of the game.
Yeah,
basically.
It's terrible.
Because it's stupid.
Yeah.
It's one of those stories where you can skip it in a horror film, but they've done it purposely where they've taken it out of the game and put a slash it as a pre-order bonus. But we'll talk about that.
Maybe
I don't want to talk about anymore until dawn.
Yeah, maybe we'll get lucky, and then Supermassive Games will pull Kojima and in Ground Zeroes and give us the other mission and stuff like that. Give us Raiden, hashtag.
It was chapter 3
Yeah, chapter 3. All right, great. But yeah, as Anand said, we'll have definitely more tomorrow with our spoiler cast, which it is tomorrow for you guys. This is supposed to be going up on Thursday, hopefully. Yeah. But all right, so moving on to our last piece of gaming news. In lieu of the Star Wars Battlefront beta, which I hope you guys were able to play, it just finished ending. I know Adam and I had a fucking blast playing it with some friends and fellow compatriots in arms. But DICE has came out now and has admitted that the Rebels are at a disadvantage in the Star Wars Battlefront beta. So basically, developer DICE has confirmed Rebel players were at a disadvantage in the Walker Assault mode from the recent Battlefront beta. A disproportionate number of players have noticed that the Rebel Alliance seems to have a tough time taking down the Imperial Walkers, meaning they're losing again and again, in every round. So DICE has basically confirmed its awareness of the problem and says that they're going to tweak some things up ahead of its release. So basically, when asked by a player if the fact he never won as a Rebel meant he was bad at the game, a community manager for the game responded, "Nope, it's a balancing issue within the beta." And then later on, the lead multiplayer designer also tweeted and added to that saying, "Yeah, it's too tough. We'll make changes based on the feedback and data." So again, for those of you who didn't, Ad and I have hands-on experience with this. we actually, I love the beta, by the way. I have a lot of intentions of, I very much am picking up that game day one, November 17th. I really dug it. But, in the beta we were playing, we noticed that in the multiplayer mode, Walker Assault on the Hoth map, it's basically a recreation of, The Empire Strikes Back, the final battle. And we were, every time we were the Imperials, we would win. Every time. I don't think we lost once. No, I think we did lose once as the Imperials. But for the most part, we always won. And then every time we were Rebels, 90% of the time we would lose. And I think that's being gracious and saying 90%.
That's been nice. I think the first day we lost every game.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
We must have played about 10, so we lost every game. And even the next day we lost quite a few. So when we learned what you could do to take down the walkers, it was a bit more easy. I mean, there's obviously the aerial bombardment and also
shooting the shit out of it.
and getting the AT snow speeder, that she did. And Chris also grappled one down on his own.
Lived a fantasy, man. I lived a fantasy.
Whilst being drunk, which is the irony of the entire thing. But actually kept the motion control straight. No, I did enjoy it. I thought it was a good beta. I appreciate that the fact it's free. I love people. Yeah. I love when developers do that, giving the opportunity for everyone to play it. Again, for me, one of the best things to do is give a beta to someone for free. Because now I'm more interested in buying it. I would just brush this off,
right?
Completely. But now I'm kind of you know what, this is. I can, I might be willing to go with this for now. And try it out. But I think it does need tweaking. I think one of the big things we said was in that game, Imperial should not be able to control the Rebels' equipment. The one that on floor, the turrets and stuff. I think that's where the big imbalance issues come.
God, man, they would corner you inside the base and then turn your own guns against you, and you couldn't leave. And they would and then you have set other places side exits that you can go, and they would be positioned there. They had a fucking ATST position there, shooting you down. It was nuts. They need to just give a little bit of an advantage to the Rebels, at least when they shut down the shields, because plus it makes it more fun for the Imperials because you have to be on your toes. You don't feel like a god all of a sudden,
Yeah.
So I will say one thing though, dude. I know this is a separate news story, and we're not really covering it too much, but I ain't down with that $50 season pass. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
you heard about that, right? Yeah, fuck that.
Oh yeah.
That's one thing. Look, I'll buy the game, but that $50 season pass, that's bonkers. That's crazy. You don't do that. You don't treat a player like that. That's fucked up. But so that's basically the news bit. They are going to take into... So this is a conclusion for Adnan and I, too, because we were they better fix this. Every time we lost, they better fix this. And as Adnan, we did a reference earlier, it's the beta! That's what you say, whatever, something, Do you try to sound like Jerry Seinfeld? It's the beta, Kramer! That's my terrible Jerry Seinfeld. But all right, I guess we'll go ahead and move on to our last bit of news here, which is our movie theme news. Adnan, would you mind if I took this piece, dude?
No, go for it.
Sweet. Okay, so Lucasfilm has said that they will hire a woman to direct a Star Wars movie one day. So Fortune magazine, I think it was Fortune magazine or the website, interviewed Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm and the manager of the Star Wars franchise, who ended up talking about how the role of women is going to shape the future of Star Wars. And whatnot. So this is what she had to say. She said, they, aka Disney, very much support the fact that we are trying to grow in the workforce the number of women in executive positions and in all positions inside the company and with the movies we're making and with the protagonists that we're putting in the stories. And then she went on to say 50% of our executive team are women. 6 out of 8 of the people in my story group are women. I think it's making a huge difference in the kind of stories we're trying to tell. And then she goes on to say, it's going to happen. We're going to hire a woman who's going to direct a Star Wars movie, I have no doubt. On the other hand, I want to make sure we put someone in that position who's set up for success. It's not just a token job to look out and try to find a woman that we could put into a position of directing Star Wars. If we do want to bring a woman in to direct a Star Wars movie, we want to make sure that it's somebody who's passionate and really, really wants to do a Star Wars movie. We don't want to talk somebody into it. You know, I have to give a lot of respect to her for this quote, because the article makes it sound like, remember a few, I think it was like a while back ago, we were discussing that Warner Brothers was really like boner hard. Like they were like, we gotta get a woman to direct Wonder Woman the movie. See, Wonder Woman the movie directed by a woman. Remember, they were like really flashy about it and shit like that. When I read the topic of this article, I thought it was going to be the same thing. But I have a lot of respect for Kathleen Kennedy, man. I think she's a really good producer, really good manager. I'm so happy she's the president of Lucasfilm, and
I think in itself that says a lot that she's president of Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
You know, she's a woman leading the company.
I just
with George Lucas's full kind of like backing.
Oh, he gave it to her. Yeah, he said, "Here,
well, yeah, like
run my
company." He trusted. Yeah, he trusted the hands. Like I think for me, it's still.
I wasn't done.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. No.
Yeah, sorry.
Just really a little PS to what I was going to say. And basically, the way I saw this article was, like, she's not, like, pushing it out there like WB did. She's kind of, like, saying it is, like, look, dude, it's a logical thing. Like, look at the stats of my company. Look at all the people that are women in here. And, that's something that we're obviously not going to, like, dumb down. Like, the way she said it was basically, like, of course we're going to fucking do that one day. Like, what are you, an idiot? Like, we're not going to, like, dismiss someone just because they, they lack a cock, for lack of a better way of saying that. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very intelligent way that she said it, and I really respect it a lot. It comes off a lot better, I feel, than WB. And not to shit on WB, but WB felt like they were more like they were saying it to say it. You know what I mean? And Kathleen Kennedy sounds like she's saying it as a matter of fact. And I think that's something I really respect that a lot. And of course I would love to see, I don't, man, as long as you can make a great movie, a great story, and you have a great style, I'm all for it, man. Women, all the way to make a movie or whatever, whoever, man, just like make the story that's good. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I hate what you mean. I hate exactly what you mean. I think with Kathleen, I mean, like, it says anything that she's leading the company in a new direction. I still, for me personally, I understand that it is kind of hard for like women to be shun out the light completely of like film development, film development, games, everything, etc., etc. I still don't think it's necessary to have a female director behind any kind of film or like female star or something else. I think it's all about talent. I don't care what your gender is, but again, that's just my personal belief, and obviously it doesn't reflect in industry because industry can be biased and different in the way they're thinking. But I mean, like, she kind of pointed out the Star Wars, Star Wars convention earlier this year, where she's where that's Carrie Fisher, like, are there going to be more women in the universe? Because everyone's joked about how Lando and like Leia are the only woman and black person in the entire universe.
Yeah, everyone's related to Lando, by the way.
Yeah, everyone, even I'm related to Lando. That's the plot twist. But I think like that's the main thing. That it kind of says everything, like in the fact that even Carrie Fisher said, maybe it'll change, and it probably will as well, because I think new direction, new kind of way, and we are continuing to change as a society. So I firmly believe that we'll see more like kind of influence from women in Star Wars movies.
Oh yeah, hands down, dude. I mean, I think it's we're still remember, this is a very early. I think what also she was trying to say was this is a very early stage in the Disney. I mean, for fuck's sake, they haven't even released a movie yet, and they've already talked so much about the future of the Disney Star Wars film relationship, and Force Awakens hasn't even came out. Okay, like it still comes out like 2 months from now at the time of this recording. So. I think it's great. I think it's in great hands. I think the Disney house is going to take care of this franchise just as well as well. I mean, this is going to be a controversial statement, just as well as George Lucas did, because some people might disagree with me. But like, yeah, I think it's going to be great. I agree with you, dude. But all right, I guess, dude, if you don't mind closing us out with our last piece of movie news, and I think that'll be it for our news.
I've actually closed the drive down. Do you want to take it?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
It's just, it always closes down the page. I don't know even what happens. Oh.
No, it's cool. All right, I'll take this last one. So, Bryan Singer, the director of the upcoming XMen Apocalypse, has teased that the film will have a longer running time than usual. So there's a little quote from him here that says, "The cut's a little long right now, but I think it's going to be a longer X-Men movie. The X-Men movies I usually keep under 2 hours, but this one I may actually let it be a longer movie because it sort of wraps up. It's sort of a wrap up of 6 movies. It's kind of a wrap up of X-Men 1, 2, 3, First Class, Days of Future Past, and there's even an homage at the end, a scene." It's going to get spoiled because they decided to use it in the trailer, which comes out in like 6 months. But it's a really cool trailer. But it's kind of a wrap up of 6 movies, so it might run a little bit long. And that's pretty much all he had to say. And yeah, the film is, for those of you who don't know, this is also the conclusion of the Young X-Men trilogy, because I think this is the last Jennifer Lawrence film. In her contract, and same thing. And I think she said she's pretty much done at this point. So
I mean, it's going to be a big reshuffle after this.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be just like... Yeah, oh my god, totally. It's going to be like how they reshuffled into this current trilogy with, remember, like First Class, how they did like a major reshuffling? Something will happen like that. I think whatever it is, Bryan Singer will be behind it, because I think Fox is going to be crazy to let him go again. Remember they let him go, and for a while they didn't know what they were doing? Then he came back, and they were like, "What do we do?" And then he came back and like fixed the series for them. So I don't think he's ever gonna let that happen again. Fox, the studio, I mean. I wonder what the homage scene is that's apparently in the trailer. That really intrigues me. I wonder what that is.
Good way of like injecting that as it did.
Oh yeah, super hypey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's neat, dude. I don't know. What's your take on it? Like, are you down for a longer X-Men movie, or do you think? I mean, I hope we don't get Dark Knight Rises levels of length, because Dark Knight Rises and Dark Knight are long as shit movies, if you remember.
Oh yeah, definitely. They are long fucking movies. But the Christopher Nolan movies are different anyway, as they are. Like they're much more kind of grounded in the kind of thing that they do.
That's true.
They have like a million to follow. No, I'm just excited. I just want to see how it ends, because I feel like now the hype for Singer is unbelievable, especially after first Days of Future Past, which I absolutely adored. And then I feel like Apocalypse. You even have one of the best endings during the post-credit scenes, where it shows Apocalypse, like in the pyramids and everything else. I was like, oh shit, this is gonna get real. But I'm fine with the runtime. Like, runtime's fine as long as you keep it kind of like, as long as there's no filler moments, it just keeps it running and it keeps it going. Because I feel one of the things with The Dark Knight, like one of the things was it just ran particularly fine because there was no real like filler moments, and if there were, they were very short and just sweet. It just kind of had like a cohesive plot where it's like it goes from this place to this place to this place, end of story. So I have complete faith behind Singer.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think he knows X-Men so well. He's been with this franchise since the film franchise since like its inception, So that's like over like 15 years at this point. So yeah, I think we could in Singer we trust.